Hello, welcome to the 10th Annual May Show at Lakeland Juried Art Exhibition. My name is Mary Urbis. I'm the Gallery Director of the gallery at Lakeland. Lakeland Community College is located on Route 306 in Kirtland, Ohio. This exhibition is open through Friday, July 12th, 2019. The May Show this year, we had 509 submissions, which is close to our all-time record, and the juror was Mary Trapp Gray, who is the most recent director of the Rife Gallery in Columbus, and she selected 92 artworks that were created by 71 artists from the local and regional areas. We're going to start off the gallery tour with a piece by Kathleen Van Meter called Hexagon Magic. It's cotton fabric and variegated threads, and you'll see my lovely assistant extraordinaire Dan in the reflections. Hey, we do the best we can here. This next piece is a Prismacolor pencil piece by Terry Klausman named Binary. This is a piece by Ruta Butkus Marino, and this is an embroidery on a vintage quilt. So the background is a vintage, kind of like a log cabin quilt. Well, maybe it's not a log cabin, but it's a traditional quilt, and then she went over and stitched and embroidered on top of it. This is an oil on canvas by Judy Takis called Emily, the 10th Muse, the one who sees. Emily is a local entrepreneur. She's a patron of the arts. She supports everybody. She shares events on Facebook, and you'll always see her at different art events throughout the city. This next piece is by Helen Hayes, called Glass Tapestry. It's fused glass and steel. And she almost didn't want to enter this piece into the exhibition. She was a little nervous. She's a new artist doing this, and we convinced her to bring the work in. And then once we saw it, we kind of like grabbed it from her and said, hey, you're entering this work, and it was accepted. So she was very happy. This next mixed media piece is by Jonah Jacobs. What's also cool about this as we kind of pan out is that the piece itself is very interesting, but then for me what makes it fun is the patterning of the shadows that are created. And as you know from you guys who've listened to my gallery talks before, I create a visual storyline of the exhibition. I try and have pieces that relate to each other aesthetically. Sometimes there are visual threads, metaphorically and actually, that go from piece to piece. This is called Intermode number 2, and it's fire sculpted cardboard, paint, dye, oatmeal, sand, plaster, glitter, polyester, polyfill cotton swabs on a styrofoam base. And Jonah has a studio over in the Matchworks building, which is over off of 615 in Mentor. These next two painted acrylic on wood constructions are by Dennis Long. Dennis is a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate, as is Judy Takis, who we just saw a few minutes ago, and is Kathleen Van Meter. So sorry I forgot to mention in the beginning. So actually this is a little bit of the CIA corner. These are done by Dennis Long. Again, they are acrylic on wood. Then this piece of glass in the corner is created by Benjamin Johnson, and Benjamin is the professor who teaches hot glass over at the Cleveland Institute of Art. And this is the first time he entered the May Show. These next two paintings, oil acrylic on canvas, were created by David King. And actually these two pieces did receive a Jurors Award for the body of work for the two pieces. And actually for a little bit of information, David King was my gallery assistant's high school art teacher. Oh my gosh, there's a crack in the wall. Sounds like a Pink Floyd song. That's not good. Okay, here's the other piece of David King's called Wet Dream. The other one was called Sparks. This driftwood sculpture called Coral Reef is done by an artist named Joe Pitangolo. And as we kind of pan around the image, you'll see these lovely shadows that are, again, being created by the different sources of light. And like I said, this is one of those happy accidents. I'm kind of into the whole shadows and things that happen just by accident. And of course, this is one of my favorite compositions. You've got a honu, you've got a seahorse, you've got eels, you've got fish, there's a crab on the side. This is a very fun, interesting composition, reusing found materials. This next piece is by Amelia Joines, Birds on a Branch. It's enamel on copper. You'll kind of see that this is kind of like the nature, and this wall is kind of like the bird wall. This next ink on paper drawing is created by Christopher Ryan. Christopher is a professor out at Hiram College. He's been exhibiting in the May Show, and a few years ago he did win Best in Show. This next piece is by Anna Chapman called Untitled. Anna's a new artist to the Cleveland area. Her mom lives here. Her aunt is Kimberly Chapman. And next we have a piece by Betty Skufka, Spirit of the Crane, oil on canvas board. Betty is 90 years old and she paints every day, and she's utilizing her, what she calls her technique called dadaism. I'm just so glad that she's still out there painting away. This is a piece by Donald Monsella called My Favorite Duck Decoy, acrylic on panel. And as I always say, it's always best to try and come see the work in person, because sometimes a digital image does not capture the beauty of the piece. And let's face it, to me, certain pieces emote an energy that you don't see digitally. This next piece is by Donald Winton. It's modernist chair. It's mixed wood, and then he wove the backing and then the seat. This is another new artist to the May Show, J. Allen Hall, called Distance. This is oil on canvas. This next drawing was created by Deborah Butler, and she arrived wearing huge pink pearls. Deborah is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate. And here we have a little vignette. On the top is a oil on panel piece by Amy Gibson called Learning. And then Kate Budd created these six bronze sculptures called Six Artifacts. And what's kind of cool is you see that the shelf that she created is curved, and then the way the light hits it again is just creating these incredible shadows underneath it. And next is a photograph by Wayne Mazzaro, and you're used to seeing Wayne's work in color, but recently he's been doing more things in black and white, and this is called Hemlock Swamp. And this is a watercolor called Spring Migration by Dale Olson. I met Dale, oh my gosh, almost 20 years ago easily, when he was a student at the Valley Arts Center when I was their assistant director. and gallery curator, so I've known him for a while. And this again was another artist. This is the first time he's entered the May show and was accepted. This is a watercolor by Kathy Pavia called Hattie and Foghorn. Kathy is another new artist to the May show. This next assemblage piece is created by Monica Glasscott. She is the gallery manager over at Artisan Corner Gallery out in Novelty. And it also includes a Mark Yazinchak skull, and she's got some pieces of lace and artifacts that she's kind of leaded together into an assemblage piece. And here's a photo by Larry Kasparek called Pride. And he's a traditional kind of guy. This is film photography. This is not, it's from a negative, it's not a digital print. Next we have two ceramic sculpture pieces by Lynn Norwood Lofton. Lynn is also an Institute of Art graduate. She has a studio, Terra Vista Studios, which is located on East 30th Street in downtown Cleveland. And those two pieces are flanking a piece by Lisa Vax-Norris-Lauer, Within the Limits or Not, and that's mixed media on paper. And I believe Lisa is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate. We have two sculptures by Michael W. Hyde, and actually these sculptures received a Jurors Award for body of work for the two sculptures. Michael's really been on a roll lately. He's getting work accepted all over the place. Right now he's got his work at Ramparts, and now he's starting to add color to his work, which is very interesting. It's been fun watching him evolve as an artist in the 14 years that I've been here at Lakeland. Oh, sorry, and these are called Providence Dropping the Ball, and the smaller one is called The Hare's Warning. And these are ceramic slip metal oxides. We've got two weavings by Deborah Silver. One is called Ornament, the other is called Deep Scattered Bones. They're wool, cotton, hand-woven, hand-dyed silk, and acrylic paint. What's cool about these pieces is she weaves the pieces, then cuts them apart kind of like a mola, which is a reverse applique. And when I first saw her work, it really freaked me out. Being a weaver myself, I was a weaving minor at the Institute of Art, that she actually cut the pieces. It was like, oh my God, that's like almost sacrilegious that she did that. And then she painted them. But I just love her work, and I love the patterning that she achieves with her work. And then the piece in the center, this is done by Diana Vigel, called Geode. These are clay and found objects. I don't know if we'll be able to get a shot of the inside with all the little heads inside. Diana is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate. Use of technology. Look at that zoom. Look at those cool heads inside of there. It almost looks like a diving bell, but it's called a geode. And this is the second piece of Deborah Silver's, De-Scattered Bones. This is one of two encaustic paintings by an artist named Donna Chrisley. This left one is called Angel of the Morning. Now this centerpiece is created by Alan Mintz. It's acrylic on wood. It's called Quiet Garden. I've known Alan since 7th grade. maybe even 11. We went to junior high, we went to Heights High together, we went to the Cleveland Institute of Art together, we graduated in 1980 together, and so he's probably one of my oldest and longest friends. And he has a studio in the Art Craft building. And then next to it is the second encaustic piece by Donna Chrisley, Along the Path. And to the artists who are in the show, I hope I'm not destroying the pronunciation of your names. Maybe sometime I should have you like write out a phonetic pronunciation, but again, I'm doing the best I can. This next textile piece is by Barbara Lind, When You Wore a Tulip. It's quilted fabric collage. And we've got two encaustics by Tina Elkins. And actually they're encaustic with photo and mixed media, postcard from a small planet fog. Tina is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate. And this large piece in the center is by Susan Krause. Called Circle the Things That Matter. These are mixed media. Susan has a great way of mixing media and imagery and just creating these incredible surfaces. And here's the second encaustic of Tina Elkins. This one is called Postcard from a Small Planet, called Storm, again, and it's encaustic over a photo and mixed media. Okay, this is a glass sculpture, another piece by Ben Johnson, who teaches at the Institute of Art. This is called Casual Impression. Actually, this is one of the first times we've had glass exhibited in the show, so I was very happy that he entered. I had just met him. Thank you, Seth Nagelberg, for introducing us. Seth teaches ceramics at the Institute of Art, and Benjamin brought his work in, so he's a first-time May show exhibitor. And next we have a mixed media found object assemblage piece by Gail Trunick. We love Gail's work, and it's called War on the Press. Clay found object. She's a little nervous entering it and when it was accepted, and I'm like, nope, this is fine. It's all about artists expressing themselves, and this day and age, boy, do we need outlets to express what we're feeling as far as what's going on. Now these next three pieces are created by an artist named Gail Tabor. Boy, I'm going to annihilate this title. I think it's French, Les Gens du Village. These are beaded sculptures, and they're kind of like the dolls, and she put the beads all over them and created wonderful surface designs. And again, what's fun is the shadow of the black and white one on the pedestal, and then the shadow of the red crown on the forehead of the yellow one in the middle. She's also going to be doing me a piece for my Skull and Skeleton and Art show that's coming up in September, so I can't wait to see what she comes up for that. And here is the Best in Show by Mandem. Mandem is a collaboration of three artists called Maze and Moko and Kiki. This is called Medical Trials of the Saints, Artemis and Athena, Oil Mixed Media on Canvas. You may recognize their work because they were the poster artists for my From Women 12 exhibition that I did in March. I really enjoy their work, and I'm so happy that this was accepted. And okay, here's a perfect example. This diptych was entered last year in the May show with a different juror, did not get in. It was entered this year in this year's May show, and Mary Gray accepted it and gave it a best in show. I actually saw Ken Emmerich, who was last year's juror, and when I told him, I said, hey, a piece you didn't accept last year was this year's May show, and so he was in town. He says, oh, I'm intrigued. So he came out to see the show, to see what Mary Gray had selected. This next portrait is by John A. Sargent III. It's called Knowledge Waits, and it's oil on canvas. He's starting to do something new. Besides his splatter, he's also starting to cut out little squares out of the surface of his canvas, which kind of, and one level breaks up the surface tension, but then on another level creates another. Here's another piece by Gail Trunick entitled Within, Clay and Found Objects. I just love some of the little architectural accents that she finds, and she just came back from a big workshop, I think, with Lisa Clegg. And you could just tell she's soaring since she came back from that workshop. Lisa is a ceramic sculptress who actually grew up in Cleveland, went to the Institute of Art. I've been following her for decades. Okay, I'm going to do my best on Reinhold's last name, which is this wooden piece called Artifact Series number 5. Reinhold Freebertshauser, walnut root burl, embedded roots and stones. And then next we have 2 portraits created by Maxwell Miller. Again, he's another new artist to the May show. First one is an oil on canvas called Strung Up or Tied Down. And this is Self-Portrait 2019, also oil on canvas. Next is an oil on canvas piece by Charles Bud Deal. I met Bud, oh my gosh, almost 20 years ago when he stopped into the Valley Arts Center. He's the former president of the Columbus College of Art Design. He's all about painting super realism and creating unusual, thought-provoking compositions. And then with the frame, he purposely made the frame look like it was a distressed frame. At first we thought, oh my God, that we'd scratched it. But I called and found out that that's exactly what he wanted to do. This next piece is by, I believe I'm pronouncing the last name, is Jackson Koch, called Tenacity, and this is photo manipulation. And this piece here is by Jack St. John called Green. It's acrylic, ink, pastel, spray paint on paper. Jack has been in the May show a bunch of times. He may have won an award once. It's nice to have some abstract pieces because it seems that sometimes this show is very representational, very object or landscape or figurative in nature in theme. This is a full spectrum photography piece by Zachary Hoon called Warhol. We actually had to call him because we thought that this was framed upside down because of the orientation, and he called me back laughing, saying that this is on a bridge down in Pittsburgh, because that's where Andy Warhol's from, that's where the Warhol Museum is from, and he said that this banner is the only one that hangs upside down. So we just wanted to be sure. I've been to shows a few times where I walked in and my work was hung upside down, and sometimes it gets a little distracting, a little like, how did you not figure this out? But Sometimes, you know, depending on what's being depicted, you're not always sure. Okay, these next two pieces were created by Cleveland Heights artist named Sarah Curry. She won a Jurors Award for these two pieces. These are mixed media. The first one is called Selfie. And the second one is called Illegal Stop. Again, they're both mixed media. Sarah teaches at Brush High School. And boy, how she's able to capture the essence of the sitters, of the people, you know, in the composition, and especially the flesh tones on these artists, on these models. Okay, this is a piece created by last year's Best in Show winner, Mark Giangaspero. This is a pastel. And this is called Portrait of Shelley. And Mark is quite an incredible dress person. It's amazing what he's able to do, what he's able to capture in such a low value or low color range, you know, monochromatic color scheme. And we've got 3 sculptures by John Rinaldi. John's another artist I've known forever. I met him when he was an artist exhibiting at Sylvia Ullman's, so I probably met him in the early 80s. So he's got 3 pieces of bronze and glass. He's actually been working with a glass blower who's been giving him some glass cast-offs that he is then integrating into his pieces. The one on the left, first one was Here Comes the Sun. Second, the larger piece is Inner Light, and then the third one is Applesauce Guy. I love how he's got that little beanie top on there, like a wing nut. Okay, here's 2 more pieces by Mark Giangaspero. This first one is a pastel called Portrait of Ralph. And then the next is Dave #1, and this is oil on panel, and Mark received a Jurors Award for this piece. So last year he won Best in Show, this year he won a Jurors Award, so this guy's on a roll. He's just an incredible draftsman, how he's able to capture the figure, and especially with this, the different temperature in the face versus the torso, and even he's got the farmer tan lines on his arms. Okay, this next piece is a collaboration piece with Steve Simmons and, oh my gosh, Jerry Schmidt. Sorry, I had a brain fart for a second. And it's a recycled base, but I just love how they integrated the shade with the steel, the fiberglass, acrylic epoxy. It's called Repurposed Bar Nail Lampshade. And it says that it's on the original base. We have a ceramic piece by Michael F. Coles Sr. called Black Vase, Black Collar, Blue Mottled. He's also known as the Willoughby Potter, and you'll see him in the summertime at some of the local art shows. And this is a piece by Anna Chapman, Voyage by Moonlight, acrylic on gessoed panel. And what's cool about this piece is you've got the sun up in the right-hand corner, and it kind of echoes the orbs of Steve and Jerry's lampshade. So again, this is how I like to do these visual threads, so you can see how imagery flows from one piece to another. And of course, everything looks so fabulous now on these beautiful white walls that were redone. It was a year ago we started having conversations about them redoing the gallery, and I didn't believe them. And now a year later, I'm enjoying the fruits of all that labor. It looks great. Okay, this is acrylic on canvas by Jennifer Florentine called And Next to this is a piece by Hazel Brown. It's a watercolor called Oh Niagara. Hazel is a new artist to the May show, so is Jennifer. So it's just nice to see that more and more people are entering the show. I know there's a lot of artists who say they don't want to pay to play, they don't want to do juried shows, but here's a statistic. You have a 100% chance of not getting in if you don't apply. And it gives people in the area, in this community, to see what the artists are doing. And so this is a piece, a collage piece by Patricia Schroeder. It's entitled Indigenous Bride. Okay, this is a piece by Charles Mintz called Too Fat. It's in caustic photos, letter, and charge plates. For those of you old enough to know, in the department stores, you used to have metal charge plates that you would go through, and they would kind of run it across into this card reader thing. And it was all done manual. Here's a piece by John Troxel. This is oil on canvas. It's called Downtown Cleveland. It's a nightscape looking towards Terminal Tower and the Key Bank building. And I can't remember the other one. I've only lived here my whole life. Okay, this next piece is called Cleveland. It's by Christina Walter, and it's a charcoal on paper. And for those of you guys who've been paying attention, you should know who this is before I even tell you her name. This is done by Judith Brandon. This is mixed media on paper called Approaching the Shift. Judy is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate. I have been enjoying her landscapes and her atmospheric pieces for quite a few years now. Okay, this is mixed media. This is Tina, I believe it's Grondin, Caught by the Wind of Another Season. And this piece, this is a cut paper piece by Nancy Schwartz-Katz called Distance and Time. I believe it's a kind of a takeoff on the traditional paper cutting technique. I don't even know the name of it, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. And we're not talking about Wally Spatz in her silhouettes that she used to do years ago, for those in Cleveland will remember. But it's all about time and distance. Each step one takes, search, second one lives, each mile one travels, cannot be measured in one breath. Just some affirmation phrases, and this is just a beautiful piece. Okay, this next textile piece was created by Jennifer Witten. It's called Immortality, and it's fiber and embroidery. This is a gouache on paper piece by Kirsten McLean, Red and Green, Cleveland. This is another gouache piece, which is a water media, and it's very difficult to get some of these areas flat. This is work by Pat Ingram called Rooftops. When I first saw her work, I thought it was silkscreen print, and when she told me it was gouache, I was like, you go, girl. For any of you guys who worked in gouache, you know how difficult it is to make it flat and keep the edges sharp. And sometimes if you use mask to mask it off, if you don't do it properly, then sometimes you end up pulling it up and the color wicks. So just the craftswomanship on this is incredible. Here's another clay piece. This is created by Carla Guizello. Sunrise, Sunset. I believe these are either raku or wood-fired ceramics. just love the surfaces that she creates. And I also like how she presented them in a little different manner, putting the two pieces on little like rungs and then hanging them off the wall. And also it helps me as an installation designer and someone who installs is I don't have to install the two and try and keep them even. They're already on one piece. So thank you, Carla, for doing that for me. This is a piece by Carolyn Thompson called Mayflower Hotel. This is oil on canvas. This is an artist, Dennis Mastrangelo. This is actually mixed paper collage where he actually cuts the paper, tears the paper to create the pieces. This is called Garden Play. I first saw a piece of his work, I think I saw it at the show down in Gates Mills. I've seen it, I think he might have a piece at the Waterloo Arts Festival. But it's an interesting way to create a piece. It's kind of like creating a silkscreen print, but he's actually using the cut paper. This next piece is by Katharina Gribble. It's acrylic and resin overlay called Meraki. This is another piece of John Troxell's called Winter Woods, made with egg tempera. And again, egg tempera is another one of those, oh my gosh, my art history is not showing here. It's a technique that's been used for hundreds of years, and I think they use the egg white as the solution or the vehicle that suspends the tempera pigments into it. So my assistant Dan is shaking his head. So yeah, see, I wasn't asleep in art history. This is an unusual piece. This is by Diana Tanowitz, Understory number 3. Cotton warp threads, handmade paper from Abaca and pastel. Made me a little nervous. There's no glass in front of it. It's, to me, as a fiber artist, it's a double-edged sword. I don't always like to see glass on top of fiber because I feel it suffocates it, but then it makes it a little bit more vulnerable. But the surfaces she created are like, oh my God, so yummy. And this is a piece by a jeweler metalwork artist named Laura Lee Hudson called Summer Bloom. It's steel and wood. Laura Lee is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate, and I first met her when she actually taught jewelry and metals here at Lakeland. And I think she taught either art history or art appreciation also. But it's an interesting piece. It's just you know, it's just nice to see people doing different things with traditional materials like metals. Okay, this is a piece by Laura Lee Hudson. You just saw a wall piece of hers. This is called Girl with Hat. It's cloisonne, ruby, and sterling silver. This is a ensemble by Jane D. Weimer called Photogenic Fancy Iris. It's Limoges enamel and sterling silver. Jane teaches jewelry and metals here at Lakeland Community College. Next to this is a piece by Pamela Pastoric. Okay, this has got a long title. Point of Agreement, Contractually Deal, Treaty, Settlement, Understanding, Reconciliation, Left versus Right, You Decide. It's sterling silver and synthetic sapphire, and Pam is also a Cleveland Institute of Art graduate. And to round out the show are these two really fun found object assemblage pieces by Annie Becker. I just met Annie a few months ago at the Artisans Corner Gallery, and her mom is Sharon Scheinbart, who's a clay artist, but I just love what Annie's been doing with the found objects, with the shoe forms, with the pieces parts. And the last piece of the show is done by Christopher Casper. It's called Car Show. It's an analog photo printed on metal. And this is another piece we had to call him to make sure that we were looking at it correctly. But if you look at it, you can see the car that's been suspended, but it's been printed like it was printed off of an old-fashioned slide. So thank you so much for coming along on the journey. Again, this is the 10th annual May show at Lakeland. It's up through July 12th. I advise you to come and see the work for yourself with your own eyes. It's always better to see the work as opposed to seeing something digital. The gallery is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sundays 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we will be closed on Thursday, July 4th. So thank you for coming along today, and I hope you enjoyed the gallery tour.